I'm almost certainly not the first person to say this, and I won't be the last. But Smash Ultimate is a game that at this stage of its lifespan has drifted remarkably far from what most competitors would consider a rewarding or engaging competitive experience. Between its sluggish, plotting neutral game and a meta so deeply entrenched in non-commitment that aggression feels almost punished, the game has quietly become a monument to patience rather than a celebration of skill experience. And yet, people are still playing it. 8 years in, competitors are still showing up, grinding matchups, traveling to locals, and dedicating enormous portions of their lives to a game that frankly does not always seem to deserve that level of devotion. To those people, I extend genuine admiration. That is a rare and almost stubborn kind of passion. But this video isn't for them. This video is for you, the newcomer standing at the threshold, controller in hand, wondering whether diving into Smash Ultimate competitively in the year 2026 is actually worth your time, your money, and your energy. So let me walk you through exactly why the answer might be a resounding, unfortunate no. My name is Dartfeld, and we're going to be talking about why it's maybe not worth playing Smash Ultimate competitively. Let's start with the foundation of any competitive grind: practice. And in Smash Ultimate, getting quality, consistent practice is, to put it charitably, an uphill battle fought with a broken sword. First, the training mode. For a game with this level of mechanical depth, the built-in training mode is almost insultingly bare bones. There's no option to program the CPU to perform specific defensive responses, replicate DI scenarios, or simulate the kind of tech chase situations that define high-level play. Frame data, the lifeblood of any serious competitor, is conspicuously absent from the base game, a consequence of Smash's eternal marketing identity as a party game rather than a competitive fighter. The training mode that exists is about as useful to a serious competitor as a cardboard shield in a thunderstorm. Yes, there are modded training tools that fill these gaps pretty well, but accessing them requires a modded switch, a barrier that immediately prices out or excludes a significant portion of the player base. Then there is the online, and if you haven't noticed, Smash Ultimate's netcode is so notoriously unreliable that the community has developed an entirely separate tier list just for online play. Because characters behave so differently under the weight of lag that certain matchups become virtually unrecognizable. Elite Smash, the game's ranked mode, if you can call it that, is a chaotic lottery of connection quality and inconsistent rule sets that makes structured improvement feel nearly impossible. The only genuine workaround involves using Blue Jay's delay mod alongside a website called Matchbox, which is basically a better, more updated Anthers ladder, and again, the delay mod requires that same moddable switch. So basically, the pathway to meaningful practice in this game runs directly through expensive hardware modifications, and that isn't really a welcoming front door for newcomers. If you're coming to Smash Ultimate from another fighting game, whether that's Street Fighter, Tekken, Guilty Gear, or virtually anything else in the genre, prepare yourself for a total whiplash so severe it may leave you questioning why you ever picked up a controller. Where other competitive fighters reward aggression, conditioning, and creative pressure, Smash Ultimate's current meta at the highest levels defined by an almost philosophical commitment to doing as little as possible for as long as possible. I've explained this in one of my previous videos, why Smash Ultimate lacks skill and risk and why that's a bad thing. The neutral game is a slow, grinding chess match where both players circle around each other like cautious prize fighters who have forgotten how to throw punches, and timeouts are just straight up strategies. And then there are the characters: Steve, Snake, Game & Watch, Min, a collection of designs so mechanically oppressive that even seasoned veterans occasionally look like they're encountering them for the first time. For a newcomer stepping in with fresh eyes and optimistic ambitions, running into a Steve player that knows what they're doing in their first tournament bracket isn't just discouraging, it can be absolutely demoralizing. The competitive experience this game offers is not one of exhilarating exchanges and hard-earned reads. More often than not, it's just a prolonged patience-testing exercise in survival. Here's something that was talked about in the comments section in that same previous video I mentioned earlier that I forgot to bring up. Smash Ultimate operates on a, at the very best, 6-frame input buffer window. In practice, this means that the game will eagerly store your inputs and execute them the moment an animation concludes, even if you entered that input several frames before the window opened. Combine this with a hold buffer system where simply holding a button guarantees its execution on the next available frame, and you have a system that fundamentally rewires how you think about timing. For combos, confirms, and setups to work consistently, they essentially have to be buffered in this very specific manner. Deviate even slightly, and the game swallows your inputs whole or spits out the wrong action entirely. And online, where frame delay fluctuates moment to moment based on connection quality, this inconsistency becomes even more insane. The deeper issue is the long-term cost. Spending significant time internalizing Smash Ultimate's buffer-dependent timing will over time actively interfere with the precision required in virtually every other fighting game. It's a slow contamination of muscle memory, and for competitive players who value versatility, it's a price that simply isn't worth paying.
Dude! Hi, man! I can't do shit!
Competitive fighting games have always demanded sacrifice. Time, money, travel, mental fortitude, the willingness to lose, repeatedly and publicly, in the pursuit of improvement, that has always been the unspoken contract. But we're living in a particularly demanding era between professional obligations, family responsibilities, health considerations, and the ever-rising financial pressure of just getting by. At this point, finding consistent hours to dedicate to a competitive hobby is increasingly a luxury that fewer and fewer people can genuinely afford. And here's the painful irony. Smash Ultimate specifically demands more from you than most games at this stage of its lifespan while offering comparatively less in return. The matchup knowledge required is staggering. The tools for efficient practice are locked behind additional investment, and the meta is not exactly designed to make you feel rewarded for your aggression and creativity. When you're already running just to stand still in everyday life, this game has a unique talent for making that exhaustion feel completely unjustified. Let's talk numbers here. Smash Ultimate has 89 playable characters. 89 characters, each with their own unique toolkit, spacing game, combo routes, and their own amount of frustration. To play competitively at any serious level, you're expected to have at least functional knowledge of most of them at best, or all of them at worst. This is, to put it diplomatically, an enormous ask. We've seen it happen to top players, competitors who have been playing for almost the entire game's lifespan, and yes, I'm talking about you, Cola, I absolutely understand your pain, suddenly getting blindsided by a low-tier pocket character they haven't encountered in years. The reason isn't always a skill gap. Sometimes it's simply that the human brain can only hold so much information before earlier knowledge begins to fade. Learn the Steve matchup thoroughly, and suddenly your Pichu knowledge gets a little hazier. Grind the Sora matchup, and somewhere in the back of your mind, your Olimar reads quietly dissolve. And for a newcomer entering the game this late, when the active player base has shrunk and the odds of running into obscure characters have paradoxically increased, absorbing 89 matchups at this stage is an almost Sisyphean undertaking with a rapidly diminishing return on investment. This one needs little explanation because everyone has already turned it into a meme many times. But it bears stating clearly for anyone who might still be harboring illusions. If you're still considering investing seriously in Smash Ultimate's competitive scene with any hope of financial return, you should recalibrate those expectations immediately. Nintendo's relationship with the competitive Smash community has ranged historically from indifferent to actively hostile. There are no official sponsorship pipelines, no meaningful prize pool infrastructure, and no organizational support for the grassroots scene that has kept this game alive through sheer communal willpower. Tournament prizes are modest at best, entry fees, travel, costs, lodging, equipment, these expenses compound very quickly, and for the overwhelming majority of competitors, the math simply does not work. Smash Ultimate, competitively speaking, is a labor of love. It is empathetically not a financial opportunity. Here's the honest truth that even top players and retired veterans will openly admit when you get them talking. Smash Ultimate is simply a more fulfilling, more enjoyable experience when the pressure of competition is completely removed from the equation. And I understand it's because this game was designed and marketed as a party game. What a surprise. And before anyone interprets that as a dismissal of the competitive scene, let me be clear, that's not what this is. The competitors who built this scene from the ground up, who ran locals in kava bars and vape lounges, went behind 7-Elevens and drove hours to bracket deserve enormous respect. But what they'll also tell you, often with a kind of wistful honesty, is that somewhere along the way, the grind has a way of hollowing out the joy that made you fall in love with the game in the first place. Think about what Smash Ultimate actually is at its core. A celebration of gaming history, a chaotic, colorful explosion of beloved characters colliding in ridiculous, unpredictable ways. It is a game designed to make a room full of people erupt in laughter, disbelief, and genuine shared excitement. That energy is alive in the casual experience. You feel it in every items on stock match with friends, in every joyful moment of a modded build doing something completely absurd, and every streamer cackling their way through a ridiculous rule set with their community. The competitive experience asks you to surgically remove all of that stuff. It asks you to reduce this enormous, expressive game down to a very narrow, very calculated, very sterile set of interactions, and then repeat those interactions thousands of times in pursuit of marginal improvement. And then at this particular stage of the game's lifespan, when the meta has calcified into something so defensive and deliberate, that narrowing feels especially severe. Retired players don't look back on their competitive years and wish they had ground more matchup knowledge. More often than not, they look back and wish they laughed more, played more, enjoyed more. There's a version of your relationship with this game that doesn't cost you your enthusiasm, and it doesn't involve a tournament bracket. And then there is the elephant in the room that looms over every conversation about Smash Ultimate's competitive future. The very real, very tangible possibility that the next chapter of this franchise is closer than any of us might think. Consider the timeline. Ultimate launched in December of 2018. We are rapidly approaching 8 full years of this game, being the current entry in the series. The Nintendo Switch 2 has arrived, bringing with it a new generation of hardware hungry for a flagship title that can define it the way Ultimate defined the original Switch. History, precedent, and simple logic all point in the same direction. A new Smash Bros. Is not a matter of if anymore. It is increasingly a matter of when, and that when could genuinely be sooner than anyone is prepared for. Now think about what that means for somebody who decides today to commit themselves to the competitive climb in Ultimate. You would be investing months, possibly the better part of a year, into absorbing matchup knowledge for 89 characters, rewiring your muscle memory around the 6-frame buffer system, navigating a defensive meta that demands enormous patience, and doing all of this without reliable practice tools unless you modified your hardware. You would be basically building an enormous, carefully constructed house of cards. And then a Nintendo Direct drops. A familiar fanfare plays, a silhouette appears on screen, and just like that, the entire competitive landscape shifts beneath your feet. The matchup knowledge becomes legacy trivia. The buffer timing becomes irrelevant. The meta discussions become historical footnotes. Everything you poured yourself into gets ceremonially retired alongside the game itself. That is not a hypothetical designed to frighten you. It's a completely realistic outcome, and one that deserves serious weight when you're deciding where to invest your most finite and valuable resource, your time. So here we are, 7.5 years of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. 7.5 years of incredible moments, legendary sets, heartbreaking upsets, and a community that refused against all odds and in spite of everything to let this game die. That story is genuinely beautiful, and nothing said in this video should be taken as a dismissal of the people who wrote it. But for you, the newcomer, the curious competitor, the player standing at the edge of the pool deciding whether to dive in, the landscape you're looking at right now is not the same one those legends walked into in 2018. The tools are incomplete. The meta is exhausting. The financial return is essentially non-existent. The matchup mountain is staggering, and somewhere on the horizon, a new entry in this franchise is quietly waiting to render all of it obsolete. Your passion for competition is real, and it deserves a home that will nurture it rather than drain it. Whether that home ends up being a different fighting game, a future Smash title, or simply a more casual relationship with Ultimate itself, that passion is worth protecting. And maybe, just maybe, the most competitive thing you can do right now is, ironically, not to compete. At least not here. At least not yet. If you made it to the end of this video, genuinely, thank you. It means the world to me. If any of this resonated with you, if it made you think, laugh, or even passionately disagree, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I read every single one, and I would love to hear where you stand on all this. And if you want to see more content like this, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you gets us one step closer to that milestone. That goal means a lot, and I wouldn't be doing any of this without the support of everyone watching. So really, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.